Hey, and welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 250,000 subscribers. We're almost there. This is not, as I say in all these episodes now, not the time to unsubscribe. Now is the time to subscribe, share with friends, because there's so much going on with even more coming down the pike. There's so much to discuss, so stay with us on this channel. Now, I want to talk to everybody about Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's letter yesterday discussing Trump's upcoming sentencing. Now, everybody knows that this entire case has been fraught with delay after delay after delay from the beginning, meaning when they ultimately brought the case, to now yet another delay by Trump in order to avoid the sentencing, using now his presidential win. I want to show you the letter that Alvin Bragg put forth, where he writes to Justice Merchan, the presiding judge. As a result of the election held on November 5th, 2024, defendant's inauguration as president will occur on January 20th of 2025. In light of that development, defendant, Trump's people, asked the district attorney by letter dated November 8th to dismiss this prosecution and consent to a stay of these proceedings pending consideration of his dismissal request. And that's marked as Exhibit 1. The people requested a brief adjournment to evaluate this request, which the court granted on November 10th. That's Exhibit number 2. And in doing so, the court ordered the people to provide by 10 a.m. on November 19th of 2024 our view of the appropriate steps going forward, also shown in Exhibit 2. Mind you, November 19th was yesterday. And for the reasons more fully explained below, the people believe that the court should set a motion schedule for defendant's forthcoming motion to dismiss, which the people intend to oppose. You see, let me go one second. Let's go down to Section A here. The people intend to oppose defendant's motion to dismiss. What Trump is asking for is a complete dismissal. Ignore everything that was done, the 60 plus days of trial, the 41 witnesses, the 12 jurors that put their lives on hold. Ignore it all because, as it says in the first line, as a result of the election held on November 5th of 2024. But Section 8 goes on to read that the people have carefully considered the arguments in defendant's correspondence. Defendant's letter argues that 1, this criminal proceeding must be immediately dismissed because defendant has legal immunity from criminal prosecution based on his current status as president-elect. And 2, his appeal to the Second Circuit from the district court's denial of leave to file a second notice of removal. It supports a stay before this court, and we believe these arguments are incorrect. All right, going on. This is the important part here. No current law establishes that a president's temporary immunity from prosecution requires dismissal of a post-trial. Again, look, he puts it in different font, a post-trial criminal proceeding that was initiated at a time when the defendant was not immune from criminal prosecution. And that is based on unofficial conduct for which the defendant is also not immune. Rather, existing law suggests that the court must balance competing constitutional interests and proceed in a manner that preserves both the independence of the executive and the integrity of the criminal justice system. Take that down. This is a very complicated issue, not just from a legal standpoint, but also from an American standpoint. Do we really want the President of the United States to be inaugurated with 34 criminal counts pending against him, knowing that in 4 years, when he leaves the White House, he will immediately be required to go to 100 Center Street for sentencing? And when I say immediately, I'm talking like 30 days. What do you think that this guy is going to do during the course of the 4 years? Do you think he's not going to look to shut it down? You already have that horrific decision by the Supreme Court of the United States that grants presidential immunity. And despite all of this, think about how it makes us as Americans look. That the leader of the free world has 34 criminal counts of guilt against him with sentencing after he leaves. It opens up a whole world of issues that doesn't just affect us nationally, but internationally as well. It debases the office of the presidency of the United States, regardless of who is occupying the Oval Office. And so this became a massive conversation the other day when I was on my political beatdown show with my co-host, Ben Meiselas, where we react, and we have somewhat differences of opinions here. We were both reacting to Bragg's decision. And again, the interesting thing is while we both acknowledge the office of the presidency, a lot of it really has to do with timing. Play that clip.
Let's talk about Bragg, your reaction.
So my reaction to Bragg is very, very simple. I think he waited way too long. You've heard me say that a million times. The case, as Mark Pomerantz put it, should have been instituted 1 year earlier than it did. 1 year earlier, we wouldn't be in this situation right now. And I'm not saying that Trump may not have won or what have you. All I could tell you is that right now would not be 2024. It would be 2023, and we'd have 1 year before that. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. And so Donald Trump, with his delay and with his ability to push everything down and to win the presidential election, he will manage to escape all liability and responsibility for this case. Now, again, some of you are saying, this is unfair, fuck you, Cohen, and so on. Okay, take your anger out on me. I happen to be the one that spent a fortune in legal fees to ensure I was properly prepped for all the testimony from even things like this show, my political, my Mea Culpa podcast, my YouTube channel, my TikToks, whatever it is. They had those and they were using them. So I had to know everything that I had said in 7 congressional hearings, not to mention the one that was live, including this show and my Mea Culpa podcast, which has in excess of 500 episodes. So it cost me a lot. But putting aside all the money that I had lost, the 25 hours on that stand were gut-wrenching. I woke up in the morning nauseous. Here I am, constantly being hailed as I'm the key witness. I'm a subpoenaed non-party witness to a case that is the first case against a former president of the United States, something we have never seen in our 249-year history. So if you think that that was easy, it's not. But we got through it. The jurors listened to the 41 different witnesses, and they came up after 9 hours with the determination, 34 counts of guilt. And now what do we got? You got Judge Merchan, or who will ultimately acknowledge what DA Bragg said, which is that, we're going to suspend the sentence for 4 years until he gets out. He'll be 83 years old. Seriously? And you think that that's good for the country? That for the next 4 years that you have this thing hanging over and you think that Donald Trump's not going to do everything in his power within which to get rid of this case? The whole thing is just nonsense. Everything was delayed. Merrick Garland delayed in those 3 other indictments. And then the one from Georgia with Fani Willis, really, it was necessary to have that prosecutor in there who you had a relationship. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And we're living the consequences of it. And I'm saddened by it, but I want to say this again, and I want to be very clear about it. I care more about the office of the presidency of this great nation. I care more about the office of the presidency than I care about Alvin Bragg's case by a multiple. I absolutely do. Because at the end of the day, this is about the future of our country. And if that means that he escapes accountability, okay, he pulled off what many people see to be the impossible, to be twice impeached, 4 times indicted, charged with sexual assault, 34 criminal counts, business record fraud, 500 million civil, and the guy still becomes the president of the United States. He's defied every single odd that was possible. He did something that was impossible. It was 1,000,000,000 to 1 odds, but he did it. And I, again, care more about this country than I do about Alvin Bragg's case.
Look, I think that it goes back to our earlier discussion, and this is where you and I disagree. What Donald Trump and MAGA did was ABC from the outset. Always be campaigning and quite literally leading an insurrection against the country, casting doubt on election results, undermining our democracy. And then no matter what the issue was, if it was a natural disaster, if it was a train crash caused by Trump deregulation, whether it was inflation caused by Trump saddling America with $8 trillion in debt and printing money recklessly, whether it was whatever Trump's policies were that caused these things, when Biden went to fix it, no matter what the issue was. Remember when MAGAs, 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, they were trying to actually cause a run on banks, and they got a few banks to go under, and they were cheering for it because, as Donald Trump said, they were rooting for a depression. They wanted everything to be destroyed. Donald Trump and MAGAs voted against a bipartisan border deal strategically so they could run on border chaos by stopping a bipartisan bill because they were ABC, always be campaigning. And they were doing it nefariously. They were doing it with lies. They were doing it with fraud. They were doing it with malice. They were inflicting, we've never had before intent, malice, inflict pain on the country so that you could run on it. We would always have disagreements. Politics was a rough and dirty sport, if you will, and it was not for the weak of heart, but it was never inflict actual pain, bring the country pain, and then run on the pain. That's what authoritarians and fascists do. That's new and novel. So we have to recognize that that's their game plan here. And I think, though, that the facts, the evidence, the truth is on our side. Look, 99.9% of Americans are not going to be benefiting from billionaires getting extra Gulfstream 6 jets,
and tax breaks and so on.
This stuff will not be helping Americans.
And I want to jump in on one thing here.
Mm-hmm.
And when that 99% or the 40% or whatever the number might be, when they finally get it through their head that the campaign promises that they bought into, groceries and gasoline, is not legitimate, it's not real, that it was just mere campaign promises. You don't like watching people being rounded up and put into internment camps and families being separated, whatever it is that floats your boat. You don't like the treatment on the LGBTQ plus community and so on. You don't like the banning of books. You don't like X, Y, and Z. I don't care what your top 3 are. It doesn't matter. When those don't happen and you realize that the campaign promises were merely just that, just campaign promises,
Right.
Then what will happen is in the midterm election, historically, what do you see? You see a complete reversal. And then you'll see the House and the Senate return to Democratic control. That's what you'll ultimately see. That's my opinion. Hey everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.